When you change jobs, you might have money in a retirement plan with your former employer, and you might be wondering what you can do with it. Here are 7 important considerations as you navigate your choices when you're in that situation. The first one is taxation. If you take money out of an employer plan that you've had in a tax-deferred status, which is most employer plans usually, you are going to take a bite in taxes. And if you're under age 59 and a half, you're also going to have a penalty on top of regular taxation. So usually taking the money out and cashing it out is not the best option. Other options that we will talk about will preserve that tax status and not have that big tax bite. So taxation is the first very big one. Second is creditor protection. Employer plans like 401ks are governed by ERISA, and ERISA is the strongest creditor protection out there. So if that is a concern for you, you might be thinking about leaving it in that old 401k. IRAs do have bankruptcy protection, but it depends on what state you're in. Sometimes it's not as strong as the creditor protection offered by ERISA. So keep that in mind. Next is choices. Investment choices. When you have an IRA, they are pretty much anything you can imagine. Whereas in a 401k or 403b, you're looking at the choices that your employer is giving you. So they have picked the features and the investment choices that you have, and that often is pretty darn limited. So you might have more choice in something like an IRA where you are in control. Which brings me to my next point, control. With an IRA, it's like it sounds, right? Individual retirement account. It is controlled by you and not by an employer. So some people kind of like that aspect of having more control. The next is loans. 401ks and 403bs, company-sponsored plans, have loan features, which IRAs do not. You can take a distribution out of an IRA, but it is a distribution. It is not something that you can pay back. However, be careful. Those loan features that might be attractive in an employer plan probably are not available to you if you have left employment. So if you have questions, you'd ask the HR department about the provisions of that particular plan. The company decides on those provisions. It's not really an IRS rule, so it's by each particular company. Also, a note on loans, they can get you. If you had a loan out on your 401k while you were employed and you leave employment, sometimes that loan is immediately due. And if you have to pay back the loan through those investments inside of the 401k, that's considered an early distribution. And then we're back to my first point about taxation and the taxation penalties. So general rule of thumb, try to avoid 401k loans if you can. Sometimes they're attractive, but sometimes there are gotchas with that. Another thing to consider when you are leaving a company are the fees inside of the plan. Usually a company plan like a 401k or 403b is seen as a one large entity, like the whole workplace is seen as one big client. So they have lower fees than most other types of investment vehicles. So you might be paying more fees in an IRA depending on the features that you choose. And lastly, are required minimum distributions. When you get up into your 70s, depending on when you retire, at some point, required minimum distributions are going to come into play. This is if you have a tax-deferred plan like a traditional 401k or 403b. Eventually, you are going to be required to take money out of that, even if you don't want it. That is a feature of all tax-deferred plans. But if you leave money in a 401k and you are still working at that age, whether it's 72 or 73, you don't have to take out the RMD until you stop working. Not true with an IRA. An IRA, it's just the candles on your birthday cake. So when you reach that age, you will be required to take money out even if you're still working because it's not attached to an employer anymore. So that's something else to think about. And then finally, there's the administration. If you have a couple of jobs in your past and they all have old company plans, 401ks, it can get to be a bit of a headache to have them all over the place. So that's one place where you would consider ease of administration would be to have everything in one place. And that would either be the company plan in your new company where you are currently working, if that plan allows for rollovers, Or it would be your own IRA under your own control where you roll over any 401k, any company plan as you leave the companies. We do this for clients. Sometimes they like to have that rollover bucket and they know whenever they leave a job, they just put it there and they can always contact us. So lots of considerations when you leave an employer plan, a lot of little details that you may or may not be aware of. People to ask next would be the HR department of your new job, your new employer, the HR department of your former employer of what things are allowed, and or a financial planner. We're happy to help you sort through the documents that you get from your HR departments and to help you answer some questions to try to make good decisions based on what you want to do next in your next life's chapter. I should also say that this is a very personalized decision and can be very complex. So this is not meant to be advice at all. This is just some general terms and information for you, but you should probably talk with someone personally before making any decisions about what you want to do based on your personal situation. Hope this was helpful to you. Have a great day.